In this video, we're going to go over the accounting for repurchase agreements when used as a form of secured borrowing. In a repurchase agreement, a company transfers or sells an asset to a customer but has an unconditional obligation or right to repurchase the asset at a later date. Notice we use the word transfers as opposed to sale because we've got that unconditional obligation to repurchase the asset at a later date. And if that obligation or right to repurchase is for an amount greater than or equal to the initial selling price, then we consider the transaction a financing transaction. Banks will often engage in repurchase agreements as a form of short-term secured borrowing, and the type of collateral that's typically involved is the buying and selling of treasury bills. I'll sell you a treasury bill today for $990 and promise to buy it back tomorrow for $1,000. I've just committed to paying $10 in interest. Think about a pawn shop. Let's say I want to borrow $1,000, but you're hesitant to lend me the money because you're afraid I won't pay you back. So what do? I propose to sell you my $2,500 baseball card collection for $1,000 on the condition that I can buy it back next week for $1,100. Everyone's happy. You're happy to make the deal, essentially a $1,000 loan with $100 in interest because you have solid collateral. And I'm happy because I've gotten the loan and I will get my baseball cards back next week when I pay off that loan and give you your $1,100. Again, because I've committed to pay a higher price to repurchase that merchandise, this is going to be considered from an accounting perspective a loan. And when I get the $1,000 cash, I will debit cash and credit loans payable to Quickie Lender. Then, of course, a week from now, when I repay the loan, cash will go down by $1,100. I'll reduce my obligation to you, loans payable by $1,000, and record the difference as interest expense. Let's go ahead and take a look at another example. In our example, we're told that Bramble enters into an agreement on March 1st, 2020 to sell the Werner Metal aluminum ingots for $250,000. As part of the agreement, Bramble also agrees to repurchase the ingots on May 1st at a price of $258,000. Again, since the price to repurchase is greater than or equal to our initial selling price, accounting standards require us to treat this as a lending agreement. So on March 1st, when we get the $250,000 cash, we will of course debit cash, but we will also credit a liability to Werner, some sort of loan or payable, but a liability on our books. Then on May 1st, 2020, when we repay the loan, we will of course credit cash for $258,000, and we will debit the liability to Werner for $250,000, and the difference gets recorded as $8,000 in interest expense.